Hi everyone. I've been doing a lot of tactics recently, and I've selected Lee Chess as the preferred website. So I focused on solving lots of puzzles in the last 3 weeks, and I've been able to achieve quite a decent score of around 2700s. Um, so I've decided to make this video and include some of the approaches that I've used in getting to this score and a general approach to solving puzzles. So I hope you find it useful. So in this video, we'll have two parts in which, first of all, I'll explain the approach that I've used. And the second one is I'll solve a number of puzzles and we'll apply this approach. So the approach consists of 6 steps. First of all, understand the position, think about possible motives, identify immediate threats, establish candidate moves, calculate and pause and reassess selected move. So what is understanding the position? Quite frequently, you will see that they use the term analyze the position. But for me, understanding the position, I think is much more precise because we are actually trying to understand what's going on in the position. So things to look for is, for example, I always start with counting the material. Is it equal or not? If we're down a rook, it means we need to find out a very quick solution to the chess puzzle, potentially as something around winning even more material, or such as a queen, or checkmating. So that's a very good hint if we're down material. If we're equal, then it could be a variety of scenarios. King safety. So if the opponent's king is his position is very open, is susceptible to threats, so we might think about checkmating, and we can actually try and find a checkmating pattern. So we need to also take a look whether there are any open diagonals, files, or ranks, because that might be used for solving the chess puzzle. When I don't know how to solve a puzzle, I've try and look at each and every piece on the board and try and evaluate its strength or weaknesses. So if we have a particularly strong bishop or a knight, which is close to the enemy's king, we might think about using it and think about calculating some moves using the knight, for example. Second step is thinking about possible motives. So, for example, you have a chess puzzle and you see that it's likely that we are talking about the checkmate. So we are going to select moves that lead to checkmate and nothing else, right? So it narrows down our choices. Or it might be about winning material, such as using a fork or trapping the opponent's queen or rook, etc. So, or there could be a crucial outcome. For example, after a series of exchanges, we have a passed pawn that is outside of reach for the opponent. Step number 3, we need to have a look on the board and see whether there is anything hanging or there are threats of mate that we might receive in 1 or 2 moves. It's sort of, again, it's a limitation for us in solving the puzzle, and we need to think about it straight away. Step number 4, establishing candidate moves. So we are going to look at 3 categories of moves predominantly. So they will solve probably 95% of puzzles. So first of all, most importantly, checks. We need to identify all possible checks. And of course, with experience, you will eliminate some of them because they don't have any sense. But from the beginning, we need to have a look at all possible checks because they are extremely forcing. So your opponent must reply with a few options, with very few options. A second category is captures. If we capture an opponent's rook, they're rook down, so they need to, if they cannot deliver a mate, they have to recapture it or play again. They will have 1 or 2 options. Third category is threats. threat versus the queen, for example, with a knight, or well, any kind of threat. But again, a threat poses some questions to the opponent, and they have to act in a certain manner so we can predict what they're going to reply. Step number 5, we will actually try and calculate out of the selected moves. We might think and narrow it down to 3 or 4 moves and calculate deeply 3 or 4 candidate moves. So we also need to think about, when we're calculating, that we not only think about what's the best move is for us, but also what is the best defense for the opponent. It's an extremely practical skill that you will be able to transfer to your regular chess play. Step number 6 is, when you are done looking at the candidate moves and you've selected a move that you really like and a line that you really like, you need to pause for a few moments, seconds, or minutes if you're going really slow, and then try and reassess that line again very critically. Because what happens is, we see a pattern, we see a piece, we see quite a forcing scenario, and we really like it. But the issue is that we make omissions, errors, and this is the last chance to improve on the line. So if we identify anything that we've missed, or we find a wonderful defense for the opponent, then we need to go back to step number 5.